Hello and welcome to the podcast where good trivia gets rewarded and bad lies are punished. But will we catch the lies? This is What's the Fact?
Yes, indeed. Hello, everyone. My name's Ryan Witzel. This is Warren Robertson, the co-host. And no, you'll never catch my lies. Never. Ha, ha, ha.
You have your on weeks and your off weeks. There's some weeks I do catch your lies and other weeks I get sucked in like a hobo under an overpass.
Indeed. Oh, dear.
But I'm hopeful this week, right? I'm hopeful.
There's signifiers. I keep going on about that TV show, which I still need to watch, called Lie to Me or Tell Me Lies, that detective.
Okay.
With all the signs on the face,
Yeah, look, I've always traditionally been very bad at poker. Like, I'm not a good poker player. And I put this out into the world in general in the hopes that people will play poker again. No, I'm actually a terrible poker player.
Oh, you really?
Yeah. And
I'm bad because I don't yet know the rules, but I would like to get into it.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. Like actually knowing how to play the game. But no, I know how to play the game. I'm just too impatient and I'm not particularly good at spotting when people are lying to me, which is how you land up in like a bad marriage, I guess. But I'm bad. Hey?
Yeah, but for me, I think sometimes I can be quite good at lying, and which is ironic because I'm supposed to be the goody two shoes religious boy. But this podcast has taught me a thing or two about me. That maybe I'm a nasty little liar. Yeah. Nasty.
Like no, nobody in the priesthood has ever done anything to me, Cardinal.
You see?
Yeah. Anyway, good.
So Dietz has really thrown something at us. What was he thinking?
Yeah, it's diseases.
Diseases. It was all lovely things like sex and poetry. Diseases.
I think there might be a personal reason. I think Dietz is trying to send us a message. I think Dietz caught a little something, probably from the hobo under the overpass.
After the sex episode, he couldn't resist.
Anyway, diseases. So now we've got to talk about diseases for the next hour, which I think is actually going to be okay because, it looks like quite an interesting topic.
Yeah, I was initially quite afraid of it because I don't go there. My sensitive soul likes to shy away from horrible things.
No, but didn't you study some kind of medicine or?
Oh, yeah, I did get into med school at some point. I got into Wits med school. I think it was the last one that they let in for physio.
Okay.
Is it really medicine? I'm joking. It is.
It is
really,
medical. Yeah. It's like chiropractics.
That's what Wits Tech.
No, believe me, there are people that are, my chiropractor saved my life, like right now in the comment section. Anyway.
I was going to ring their necks.
Apologies, you got into real medical school.
Well, I failed first year and was sort of kicked out because I failed that badly. It was, but my sad story is that I might have taken the hardest subject choice. Everyone, on the first day, was lining up to change their subject choice, and I was just happy to be there.
Right.
Because I'd just been accepted on Friday, the 13th of February. How late is that?
And what was the subject?
Well, I had full course chemistry, full course physics, biology, and biomedical maths.
Right.
Which is the only one I ended up passing.
No, if I tried to pick those up, it would have been like shooting my own dick off.
That's what I did and for a whole year. I remember studying the one day doing homework, and these girls next to me were talking about Hinduism and Christianity and the Jehovah's Witness movement, and I was like, I was so interested in what they were doing, and then it dawned on me, you should be in the arts. Why are you doing medicine?
Well, look, I went into the arts, and let's be honest, Ryan, I'm not the richest man in the world, so, life choices, either way.
Physio, yeah. No, look, it was devastating to be kicked out, but it did send me on a path of fulfillment.
Can I ask, did you study physio so you could touch a lady, right? Is that what it was about? You wanted to touch a lady before marriage?
I wanted to heal people with my hands.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Fair enough. There's no narcissistic complex there at all.
No. Hey, speaking of nothing in particular, should we crack open a cold one? You remember that?
Yeah, we're not gonna go too deep on that.
Remember that joke?
No. Anyway, but thanks very much to Woodstock Brewery, who once again sponsored our beers. Delicious beers.
And they do a wonderful comedy show. The first one was wonderful, that opening act.
That's the last Wednesday of each month.
Yes, it was wonderful. I'm drinking you're having the Pilsner.
I'm having a Pilsner.
I'm having the Weiss.
Something a little light to start with.
Do you like my new material about wanting to open up a German brewery in Florida.
I can't remember that.
In Florida, call it Miami Vice. You remember that?
Yeah, I was trying so hard not to set you up for that. Anyway, good. Let's get on with the diseases. Let's get some diseases.
Look at you.
Thank you very much.
And a
Dietz.
Woodstock Brewery glass. Woodstock Brewery! Vice. We can see the color. The people at home can see the color.
Yeah, I've just, a Pilsner's that yellow, that lager yellow.
The Vice is the glow-in-the-dark orange.
That's right. And you pour it so beautifully,
I've
man.
made such a mess here. Look, this is not a good way to start.
All right, do you want me to go first?
Yes.
I think it's my turn.
Hit me with your
right.
disease.
Let me start with a very basic one, right? So as a general kind of rule, being in the arts as opposed to the medicine, my first sort of thoughts is, what can you get out of the language of diseases? So the first thing I kind of looked into was, how everybody complained whenever Donald Trump called COVID the China virus. Anyways, like the China virus, it comes from China. Anyway, and everybody said, no, it's terrible him doing that. Naming the diseases after the alleged origin is kind of racist, and it's dangerous to the people from the country that it's named after. There were backlash against Chinese people for that, and in the previous pandemic, the Spanish flu, there'd been a backlash against the Spanish for that. So now it's kind of a frowned upon thing. We don't do that anymore. We don't, it's not done to name a pandemic after where it comes from. But the interesting thing is was very popular. For example, the Spanish flu, even though the flu didn't come from Spain, it was kind of detected there first, and so they named it the Spanish flu. And then, of course, Ebola is named after a river in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Really?
Yeah, and syphilis was very first called the American pox. So, all of that is my fact.
Oh,
The whole thing.
Well, I don't know why we both researched a bit of syphilis in this one.
Did you? Did you deep dive on the syphilis?
Look, there's a picture of a guy's willy, even on Wikipedia.
No, I didn't look up pictures, though.
I didn't look up pictures. I'm just saying on Wikipedia.
They just happened to be there.
Yeah, there was a scroll down, guy's willy.
All right.
Oh,
right.
shame. With a bit of...
I mean, that's basically the rule of the internet, isn't it? You scroll down far enough, there's going to be a guy's willy.
So I'm going to call bullshit on your opening fact, based on... Ebola, a river in the Congo. I'm not sure, but it sounds right. And then Spanish flu. Well, I think was it your first fact? But no, syphilis was called. It was called many things. It might have been called American disease, so I might be wrong here. But it was
American pox, yeah. Because
pox.
It originally came from South America. It originally, yeah.
Well, yeah. There's talk of Christopher Columbus actually. Bringing it, shame, but
Naughty,
that's
naughty boy.
That's so controversial because the whole thing was the Europeans definitely took a disease there.
Yeah. They took a few. Smallpox being the biggest one.
Did they bring some from there, or is that just them trying to,
well,
in hindsight,
it does seem pretty clear cut that there's no syphilis, and then syphilis sort of starts, and it does make the most sense that it could have come from South America. But look, at the time, people believed it did come from South America. So,
South America.
Yeah.
No, the reason I didn't see American pox, but I did see the French and Germans calling it. I mean, the English and the Germans calling it the French disease, and then there was another nation who called it their neighbor's kind of disease.
I think you got it anyway. I'm gonna give it to you. You're absolutely you're on top of it. Yeah, the nicest thing about it is that the English called it the French disease, the French called it the Spanish disease, the Germans called it the French evil, the Russians called it the Polish disease, the Poles called it the Turkish disease, Turks called it the Christian disease, and the Japanese called it the Chinese pox. So there you are. It's basically everybody just named it after their enemies.
So much for love thy neighbor.
Yeah, no, as soon as you're like, those bastards, their filthy ways. And I'd imagine that's what French kissing got named after as well. Because,
shame.
Look, that thing they do with their tongues? Disgusting. Shameful. But yeah, there you go. So that's So the thing is that when you hear a name before a flu or before a pandemic, the chances are it's probably an insult rather
Yes.
than any kind of real indication of where it came from or why it's,
People. Good grief,
Yeah.
man.
There you go.
Well, diseases. My first fact about a disease is quite personal. I'll just lambaste you with a fact, and then I'll talk
Yeah.
about how come I know a little bit about it. But asthma can be caused by even aspirin.
Huh. I mean, I have no idea what asthma is. It's one of those things where, everybody knew kids at school, who didn't have to run the laps because they had their inhaler. Those little bastards.
Hey,
I wanted an inhaler so badly. Like when they were making me run those, the first week of rugby practice where they would work you, like make you run 50 laps and there sits Todd, who's invariably going to play prop, sitting on his inhaler while the rest of you run.
Yeah, it does look like a very cool thing,
I don't know whether it's...
I think the chicks dig it as well. A shame he's got an inhaler.
Yeah, but so you know about asthma, right? Like you know about it from when you're young. But what it is exactly? I mean, you could tell me it's a rotting of the lungs caused by, or a bacteria, or a genetic failing of the lungs. I have literally no idea.
Specifically, I don't particularly know either. But it is pulmonary. I know it's that.
I mean, I wonder if it's one of those illnesses where perhaps they haven't really nailed down what causes it. Because I suppose if they had nailed down what causes it, they wouldn't have to treat the symptoms. They would treat the actual illness, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd take tablets for it instead of an inhaler. Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So, do you think aspirin's one of the
causes? No, I mean,
do you think it could cause asthma?
Well, I mean, if we don't know what it is, it's difficult to say whether aspirin could cause it. I'm gonna say no. Difficult to imagine. I mean, it might be on the aspirin side effects list, but then so is explosive diarrhea, and I don't know anybody who's ever developed explosive diarrhea from aspirin.
Well, if you get explosive diarrhea from asthma, that's terrible. It's every time you cough.
Oh, from no, from aspirin is what I was saying. But yeah, okay. So you're gonna tell me it's true?
I'm gonna tell you it's true.
Okay.
Yes,
Why did you get it from aspirin?
No, I didn't. But just just on the research, it is one of the
From aspirin.
No, I didn't. But just just on the research, it is one of the causes. But actually, it's a little bit genetic and a little bit environmental. So I had it because I was born in Vereeniging. Now, and I'm not sure why I got it and others didn't, but I had asthma and I had a pump, and it was only I had 2 attacks.
I'm so
that I
sorry
can
for saying that
remember.
the pump isn't cool, Ryan. I'd like to apologize
I
to
don't
you
have it
because
with me, yes.
you sound like a delightfully very cool kid.
My
hanging
pump
out.
was mornings and evenings. I couldn't take it with me. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Did you decorate your pump? Did you personalize it?
No,
Didn't even think about that, did you?
yeah, I mostly lost it. But but I mean, my grand took me to Auntie Beatrice, because she was at the Anglican church, and she prayed for me while my grand and Auntie Jean went into the kitchen. I was 10. She,
Okay.
like, put her hands on. She didn't
Oh,
say
so she was
anything.
trying to heal you of the
Yeah.
asthma.
Yes,
Okay.
and on 2 sessions, I had 2 sessions with Auntie Beatrice.
Mm.
You know,
And now, I mean, you don't use an inhaler now. So
no, exactly.
clearly.
But I also left Vereeniging. I'm just
I
saying.
see,
I'm
I
just
see.
saying. So, but the asthma did stop after that, and I also left Vereeniging.
You think you were allergic to big
Yeah,
exhausts and
Because the Vaal Triangle's very, very industrial, very polluted. Sasolburg's right there. Iskor, Van der Bijl Park, and then the whole region is very
so
industrial.
it's not truck nuts or something you're allergic to
No,
because there's a lot of truck nuts in Vereeniging.
there are. Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
I wish I was more mechanically minded and industrially inclined, but I'm not. I don't know how to even.
Yeah. So
I don't know where the oil
you
is.
think it was the industrial
Yes.
gases in the air that were bad for you?
Yeah, and so when but I definitely had it as a kid, and I don't have it anymore. So that's
Either
very
it was
nice.
that or Jesus healed you through Auntie Beatrice.
Auntie Beatrice. Yeah.
Let's believe that it's Jesus healed you.
Thanks.
Like for
Said the
Jesus,
atheist.
like for Jesus, for Jesus healed him, and share if you think it's because he left Vereniging.
Jesus didn't leave for anything.
No, he would never leave Vereniging. Too much work to do.
He's currently playing for Arsenal and he's doing very
He's
well.
a lot of goals, 4 attacking opportunities. Never mind. Good. So that was fantastic. You've already guessed my lie. You've delivered on your own fact.
Yes.
I'm way behind on this, so I'm gonna go for an obvious one, right? An obvious one. Edward Jenner invented the smallpox vaccine in 1796 when he cultivated cowpox, which he provided in small doses to people to successfully immunize them against smallpox. That's my fact.
So
And he was
smallpox, cowpox.
Edward Jenner
Yeah.
invented the smallpox vaccine in 1796.
Yeah.
That's my fact.
You see, one of our subscribers and listeners on Spotify, Michelle.
Yeah.
I mentioned, because she's a big fan and we're in the office today, and I mentioned to her we're doing diseases. And she sent me a link on smallpox, and I just didn't look at it.
You see, you should have. Yeah, you should have. Michelle's trying to help you, and yet.
I know. So sorry, Michelle. So I don't know, but what I do know is the crux of the matter that she was trying to explain to me over lunch was that it was given by accident to a little boy.
I mean, essentially what he did was, so he took cow scabs from cowpoxes off their bodies, and he used the kind of goo. He'd cut the skin, and he'd use the goo from the scab, and that then obviously would infect people with a kind of a pox that was so close to smallpox that it ultimately worked as a kind of a vaccine. And it worked so well, it was eventually, a couple hundred years later, the WHO turned it into the world's first major vaccine drive and vaccinated basically the whole world. And now we don't have smallpox anymore. Humanity's only eradicated 2 illnesses, smallpox and rinderpest. So, and it sort of started, if you believe my fact, it started with Edward Jenner.
With the cows.
Yeah, with Edward Jenner and the cows in 1796 of all places.
My word. I'm going to have to say definitely. I think cow diseases have been really a big issue in mankind. And so if they're ill, and around that time, science and technology and medicine, it had all begun. The scientific method had begun, and so I'll have to say your fact is true.
So the interesting thing is what story that I just told you now is the widely held, accepted in the medical community development story for the smallpox vaccine. Edward Jenner is credited in history and on Wikipedia as being.
Was he a medical person?
Yeah.
And he was trying to fix
and
cowpox.
And he's fixed smallpox, and he's 100% credited as being the inventor of the smallpox vaccine. But here is where it gets interesting, because the fact is actually false. He didn't invent the smallpox vaccine, because the first clear reference to a smallpox vaccine was made by Chinese author Wan Chan.
See.
In 1499. He lived 1499 to 1582. In his book published in 1549 called The Duzen Jingba. I'm sorry for the pronunciation. So sometime around the 1500s, there was smallpox vaccinations.
Good grief.
Yeah, and what they did was they took powdered smallpox scabs and they blew them up the noses of healthy people, which would then kill kind of as many as 2% of those people. But that was significantly lower than the 20 to 30% mortality rate if you actually caught smallpox. So the Chinese have been doing that for ages. There's 2 reports on the Chinese practice of inoculation, which were received by the Royal Society in London in 1700. So this is before Edward Jenner. One by Dr. Martin Lister, who received a report by an employee of the East India Company stationed in China. And another, according to Voltaire, who in 1742 said the Turks derived their use of inoculation from neighboring Circassia. He didn't speculate on where the Circassians got their technique from, though he did report that the Chinese have practiced this for hundreds of years. So actually, the Chinese had found a vaccination system for smallpox long before Edward Jenner, the alleged inventor of the smallpox vaccine. So there is a widely held belief that we can basically put to bed.
But how's that method, eh?
Yeah,
blowing it up their
yeah.
nose.
I mean, what a vaccine essentially is
I mean, a bit of the
disease. What it used to be. Yeah, it was taking a little piece of the disease and giving somebody a tiny little dose so that the body could react to it, discover it, react to it, and destroy it before it took over the body. And then we got a lot smarter as vaccines kind of developed. We started going, well, we don't have to give them the bad part of the vaccine. We just need to give them a piece of the virus that's unique to that particular virus. So the body then recognizes that uniqueness as being a thing, and that's as being dangerous to the body, rather than necessarily recognizing that the whole virus. So now we don't have to put the actual deadly part of the virus into you. We just give a tiny piece of the virus. And and then that's now what's recognized in the vaccines. So their systems were extremely simplistic. But they were essentially vaccinations.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a fact, man. That's a hell of a fact. I'm going to move away from China. I'm going to sail in my boat across the Indian Ocean. And I'm going to land I have to I have to sail around the Horn of Africa and go, I think, West Africa-ish for this one. Because it's... a thing called sickle cell anemia. But my fact, which I'd like to start off with before going into sickle cell anemia things, is that it is, if you have sickle cell anemia, you are highly less likely to get malaria.
So that's... Yeah, I mean, look, West of Africa. West of Africa is a high malaria area.
Yeah,
and in fact, I believe that they're working on a vaccine for malaria at the moment. I think one was supposed to be arriving in about 2015, but I think they're still testing it and making sure it works. It kills about 400,000 people a year. Yeah, malaria. So it's a serious illness. And I'd imagine that if you lived for hundreds of years in an area where literally thousands of people are dying from an illness, that your body would eventually develop some kind of protection against it. So I could also imagine that such a mutation might also come with negatives. That there might also be negatives attached to some sort of evolutionary mutation. So yeah, I mean, I'm prepared to believe it. It might be one of your sneaky lies where you're leading me into it's not malaria, it's tsetse, sleeping sickness, tsetse fly,
tsetse fly.
But I'm prepared to say it's true. I'm afraid to say, in general, I believe that particular fact.
The tsetse fly was an issue in the Jocko the Bushveld movie. Do you remember?
The tsetse fly has been a major issue throughout Africa. 36 different. You know that it's the same strain of virus that causes sleeping sickness in Africa, that causes that chigus in South America, which is also just a deadly illness that's spread by some kind of spitting bug, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
So you're saying it's true.
I'm saying it's true. That with
sickle cell anemia have a far less likely
I would imagine
chance
it's an
of getting malaria, and that I would say, when all is said and done, is that it's true. So you're right in that it's true. There are some, I think they're just cautionary, who's saying no. People with sickle cell anemia are ill. They've got this anemia. They need to take preventative malaria medication for the rest of their lives, and it's not a good thing at all. Sickle cell anemia. It's literally the red blood cells are round in shape, but these are sort of worm-likey things, so that causes obstruction in the capillaries, and that can cause all sorts of problems when the blood's not flowing to the organs fast enough, or at
Look,
all.
can I just pause you just for a second, because I think the naming of sickle cell anemia is disgusting. Quite honestly, in this world of body shaming, where what we're doing is there is no other illness where you take a part of somebody's body and you describe what it looks like in a derogatory fashion as a disease. There's no like bulbous nose anemia. You know what I mean? A droopy face like asprasia. Like nobody's calling it that. You can't
The
go around.
communists were delighted by the title, though. Sickle, yes, get in there.
Yeah,
We have a sickle.
and the Arabs. No, but I think it's horrendous. I think people need to be less shamey of those red blood cells. Just because they're inside the body doesn't mean person doesn't hurt.
Shame
To hear their cells described in that derogatory fashion.
Sickle cell, but yeah, so it's shaped like the thing, and well, its shape is one of the reasons that the malaria. What is it? It's a parasite. Is it a bug? The thing. So, firstly,
It's a virus.
because of its funny shape, the sickle cell, it sort of carries less oxygen, which is the role of the red blood cells. It's funny shape. So when the malaria bug gets onto
virus,
it, it doesn't grow. It hardly survives. That's one of the reasons. Then one of the reasons malaria makes you sick is because the red blood cells will stick to the walls of the blood vessels, but the sickle cells don't. So when they do, the virus then infects the body and stuff like that. But it doesn't. So that's one of the reasons that.
So virus is a very interesting thing, right? And I suppose it's about time we talk about this thing, because a virus is not a living thing, and it's not an inanimate thing. It is kind of like a piece of coding somewhere between a living thing and a non-living thing. And what it does is, instead of having its own proteins and its own creations, it's literally a couple of molecules.
Yes.
And instead of having its own proteins and its own life cells, what it does is it enters the cells of of a living thing, and then hijacks that cell to create its own stuff and to replicate its own self. So it's actually, it can't exist, and it doesn't live, and it can't do anything without those other living cells. So when you say what happens is, because these cells are defunct, the cells that malaria targets are they're mutated.
Yes.
Then when it comes in, it can't use those cells accurately to create its own proteins and to carry itself on. So So I mean, I would imagine maybe I'm being crazy here, but maybe people with sickle cell anemia have got other kinds of illnesses that they also have some kind of slight immunity to.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be an out of the box kind of creative direction to go and see if you can find cures to things by looking at a terrible thing like sickle cell anemia, but the fact that they don't get malaria, the answer must lie there somewhere. And of course, because it carries less oxygen, and because it doesn't stick to the body, and the body doesn't get infected by it, and the malaria bug doesn't grow much, its presence there does alert the immune system. And because its growth is slow and its spreading is slow, the immune system actually has got more power over it. So, it is a pretty nice thing in
that
way.
one small unique way.
Like I've had a foray into as we all have had a foray into the creation evolution debate. So evolution proponents, obviously, which is majority of scientists, would say that the evolutionary.
I think it's all scientists. I think if somebody calls himself a scientist and doesn't believe in evolution, they are a nut.
Well, the creation scientists would want to redefine. Right. They want to ask you what your definition of evolution is, because they say that this is evolution in progress, in that it is adapting in a way to it's getting better. Right. We're finding ways to beat diseases.
So are you saying it's not a complete evolution yet? It's a kind of a faulty branch of evolution, maybe.
Yes, but the hardcore sort of creationists would go, no, that's not evolution. It is merely a problem. So evolution's got to give you better and more complex
Fortunately,
but that was a problem which happened to lead to a benefit. So they debate on sickle cell anemia and whether it really is beneficial evolution.
Evolution. There's loads of mutations that ultimately didn't work out. There's loads
yeah.
of animals that went extinct because their evolution didn't work out. Their evolutionary track wasn't actually effective at dealing with in the environment in which case. So a kind of faulty evolution is in fact a proof of evolution, because surely creationism would mean a divine God has created a thing perfect. He's created it as he wanted, and a kind of a faulty system like that isn't allowable under a situation where a divine God is creating, perfect beings.
Things.
Yeah. I'm very glad you took us down the pathway of.
Just taking my jacket off.
Sure. Why not?
No, because now that we've said evolution, creation, now we're gonna ready to pull the punches.
Oh, we're playing Strip What's the Fact this week. Somebody guesses your fact, off comes an item of clothing. This is how this thing works. Okay, all right, good. I'm glad that you took us down the pathway of the fact that not all diseases are necessarily 100% bad, because I have what I think is quite an interesting fact just about that exact thing, because there is a disorder that apparently 250 people around the world have. So not a very common disorder at all, which basically only gives those who have it kind of superpowers, because essentially they have longer life expectancy and near immunity to cancer and diabetes. And it's a disorder.
Good grief.
Yes, it's a thing you can be born with. It's like a Turner syndrome or Down syndrome. It's a disorder, and it gives you a longer life expectancy and near immunity to cancer and diabetes.
And this is your fact?
This is my fact, yeah.
So you say this disorder exists. You're not going to tell me what it's called?
It's called Laron syndrome.
Laron?
Yeah.
Oh, brother. Laron syndrome, diabetes, cancer, but it's bad.
It gives you a longer life expectancy. Like if you've got Laron syndrome, you're expected to live. No. I didn't say it's bad.
Oh.
I didn't say it's bad. I said it's a symptom. It's a disorder. You get it the same way you get kind of many things that, like. So the thing is, symptoms and disorders and syndromes result in difference, right? So they're different from the norm, but they're not necessarily bad. Like people are like, oh, with Down syndrome, they're different, but they're not. It's not bad.
Yes.
So yeah, but in this case, what I'm saying, my fact is, in the case of Laron syndrome, what it basically gives you is superpowers, because it just gives you longer life expectancy and a near immunity to cancer and diabetes.
But you have two heads.
No. I mean,
I don't know what Laron syndrome is.
Yeah, you definitely don't have two heads.
Okay.
I mean, two heads. I've got two heads.
It's those Siamese twins saying, are you boys playing Siamese twins again? It's a shame. No, maybe it's not.
I mean, yeah.
So you know what Laron syndrome is?
I mean, I know what Laron syndrome is. Obviously, I wouldn't have brought it up.
Okay, so that's your fact. Laron syndrome means you live longer and you have this great immunity to cancer and diabetes.
Yeah, so not all disorders are bad.
I'm gonna say, no. There's no ways that a disorder will give you immunity.
So yeah, disorder is maybe the wrong, because I use the word disorder because disorder just, in medical terminology, disorder just means a difference. It just means like a genetic kind of a difference, or something that's triggered, or maybe a chromosome is missing, or maybe there's something that's different from how people are usually structured. And what I'm saying is, so that's why I've called it a disorder. I mean, I suppose it's a very negative word, but it's a syndrome. It's actually called Laron syndrome.
Right.
So yeah, it's not Laron disorder. It's Laron syndrome, and it is a disorder that basically gives you these superpowers.
Nope. Don't buy it. No. Can't get cancer. Can't get diabetes.
No. It doesn't say can't. It's near immunity to cancer and diabetes. Yeah. And increased life expectancy because of that. Because you are less likely to get cancer and diabetes.
And can I ask a clue? Can you get is there a downside? Well, your four nuts, your four nut sacks is a bit of a downside. The mutated nut sack on your
Did you ever see the movie The Highlander, Ryan? Did you ever see the movie The Highlander?
I saw some of it, and there was a TV series.
I think the downside of Laron syndrome is probably the same as The Highlander, I would guess. If you're going to make me guess, in that you outlive your loved ones. I blossom. I love you, Blossom. Goodbye, Blossom. That's the thing about who wants to live forever, asked Freddie Mercury.
Freddie,
and maybe that's the Down syndrome.
Look at you.
Oh, my word. Yes, I'm in trouble. Maybe that's the downside to Laron syndrome. I don't know. What I'm telling you is my fact is
no.
It literally, for all intents and purposes, the people are the same. They just get a longer life expectancy because they have a near immunity to cancer and diabetes.
Wow. Laron syndrome.
Yeah.
No. It's a lie. You're lying.
Yeah. No, I am lying.
Yes.
I mean, I'm telling you the truth about those superpowers. If you've got Laron syndrome, you do in fact have those superpowers.
Really?
Yeah, but you do have some downsides. Yeah, you're generally short-statured, so significantly below the average height. Obesity.
Oh.
Craniofacial abnormalities.
Okay. Okay.
And a micropenis. So essentially, I could have Laron syndrome. I could live forever. I just don't know it. I have all the downsides of Laron syndrome without any of the benefits.
You short cranial micropenis.
Micropenis. Craniofacial abnormalities. So I have all of the downsides with none of the necessarily perceived benefits. Yeah, but they do have low blood sugar and low serum IGF-1. Despite elevated basal serum, so that's the low blood sugar and things are the reasons why they have a decreased chance of getting diabetes. But yeah, so sadly they can be shorter, more overweight, but they do, as a positive on this thing, get to live longer. Know that they'll basically not get diabetes. So eat whatever you want if you're going to be obese anyway. Have at it. And no cancer. So really, there are benefits. There are benefits. Yeah.
When do they pick it up? Like early on?
Yeah, I think it's at the craniofacial abnormality stage, Ryan.
He's a lovely little boy. Got a micro penis.
Yeah. I wonder how you know. Because I've never seen a baby who you're like, geez, look at the dong on that guy. They're all micro to me.
Yeah.
But maybe that's because I'm so huge, you might be thinking. Huh? Is that what you're thinking, Ryan? Is that what you're thinking?
No,
I didn't think it might be.
Do you know that insulting someone in German about calling them a micro penis, micro is still micro in German.
Oh, so it's still micro.
It's like you micro schwarzer.
Yeah, I was about to say. I'm sure they've got some sort of really fancy word for penis.
But micro is just normal.
Yeah. So it's like micro Hadschen Schulen Fargen.
Yeah. So if you're
sorry,
in
German people, that was.
Tunes you micro something, then he's
making fun of your penis.
Yeah, and the micro.
There's actually there's a word that I learned from comedian Alan Adams. For a penis that does not extend beyond the testicles, it's called a rantalion. Yeah, so there you go. Sorry, followers with rantalions. We apologize if this is. Yeah, I mean, this has really been the body shamey podcast because of the rantalion and the sickle cell anemia. We're really having a go at it, and the craniofacial abnormalities.
Laron, who was poor Laron?
Yeah, listen, if you're going to pick a fight with somebody, it's going to be somebody with Laron syndrome. They're already, they're going to live forever. You can't beat them. They're going to come for you relentlessly. That's you don't want to pick a fight with these guys. They're not going to die. They will be coming for your grandkids. That's what's going to happen.
And so obviously the first oak, bit obese, bit of a funny head, micro penis. His name was Laron. What are we going to call this?
Yeah, because that's I mean, look, at least they didn't call it, the South African syndrome, because that would have been bad for all of us.
The British oh no, it's a village in France. It's Laron village, south of Paris. Yeah. They're all obese and micro-penised.
I bet you it was amongst the doctors. I bet you the doctors all had this one doctor called Laren, and nobody liked him, and they made fun of him every time when they ate their lunch. And then the first guy was born with a tiny penis, and they were like, "Hey, Laren, check here. This oak's like you. This is Laren syndrome." And he's like, "Fuck you guys, I'm quitting."
Like when I was small, there were like stories of medical people losing their minds, especially in like when they have to do the Godiva thing. And like at some point you're not allowed to, obviously, but they'd like skip with the small intestines.
But
I don't know how true that is.
No, I'm sure it's one of those urban myths because honestly, the best thing a person can do is donate their body to, the organs to organ donation and their body to science. And I mean that's a good thing to do. So you wouldn't like to imagine our psychopathic doctors, putting an eyeball in each other's pocket. I got you, Whittle. Like you've got eyes in your pocket.
It's your turn to skip, Warren. England, Ireland. No, put Exhibit A's small intestine duodenum back in his abdominal cavity.
Okay, if you all cut open your kidneys, sorry, sir. Yeah. I put my kidney in so and so's lunch the other day.
Oh no! How was your chicken livers? Was it like?
It was tasty.
No, in first year we didn't get humans. We got the platana and a rat, and then I was making jokes. I was like, because the platana didn't smell too bad in the formaldehyde, but the rat, oh god, even with the I don't know what it's not the formaldehyde that smells, it's the actual rat.
Right.
And then I was making jokes saying rat abdominal cavity by Yardley. That was,
very you were a very funny first year, Ryan. I can't imagine why you went into comedy. Anyway, good stuff. That's congratulations. You called out my lie. Nobody gets benefits without some kind of horrific side effect, except Spider-Man.
Like my ex-wife was talking to a Jewish lady. We were at some function, and she's like, sometimes this is just what the Jewish lady said. The Jews, because you have to marry a Jew, and there's all sorts of diseases because Jews have to marry Jews.
So I mean,
that's what.
I'm a Finnish citizen, and I can tell you that there are diseases or illnesses that are in the Finnish population that are there because essentially they lived in a swamp cut off from the rest of the world for a very long time, and they became kind of genetically.
So where there's a disease, it is isolated. Thank you, Charles Darwin. Thanks for that. We understand that.
And interestingly, there are signs of those sorts of diseases occurring in Afrikaans people as well, which is going to cause a lot of hate.
Dietz is.
He's got.
That's why we're so interested in this topic of
maxofacial abnormalities and micropenis. But that's not an Afrikaans thing. That's
sitting in his dark corner, struggling to find his micropenis right now.
Yeah, I know.
You could just cut that one out.
Sometimes we ask ourselves, why does he keep giving us terrible topics? and I think this is why, right? I think this is why. I think we deserve it.
Yeah, but should be nicer to our producer. Cheers. Shout out to Dietz.
Yeah, shout out to Dietz. What's the 7? Oh, there we go.
Oh, donkey Dietz. Oh, wow.
He's showing us the difference between the different types of Jewish people and where they come from.
That's Sephardic micropenis.
Now he's showing us pictures of micropenises.
My goodness.
Sometimes Dietz is useful, but other times... those are very small Dietz. Those are very, very small.
That guy
is that your Instagram account?
You know that one picture looked like... you remember that the Afrikaans people actually... dubbed it into Afrikaans. It was a story about an alien. It was a sitcom starring an alien. In the 80s, 90s.
With Robin
80s.
Williams?
No, it was a puppet amongst humans.
Oh, Elf.
Yes. That guy's micropenis looked like Elf.
I got to tell you, the Afrikaans people have got the best phrase for a micropenis. It's a leukop, because it's just the head and then the mane.
But you were saying, sorry, I really interrupted you. So the Afrikaans community.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that there's some populations around the world that, because their culture is so small and there's so few people involved in the culture, and as I say, like Finnish people are one of them, where there are genetic problems that have been caused by And I'm desperately trying to avoid the word inbreeding, but it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of a thing. I mean, I think Oaks van Vereniging, we tend to drop out of med school. It's like a disease.
Yeah, yeah.
We just can't
Yeah.
fathom the physics.
No, Oaks from Vereniging don't generally get into med school in the first place.
There's a monument to me erected. He got into physio.
Yeah, erected where? Anyway, good. I'm glad that we got the racist part of the show over and done with. Yeah. It's nice that we're doing that. All right, so here's an interesting fact. So we've been a little bit crazy. We've been dealing with kind of strange stuff. But here's my fact, and I'm going to read it to you, and I will answer no questions before I take your answer. The surgeon who first suggested that washing hands reduced the mortality in surgery was considered crazy by the medical community when he couldn't come up with a reason for why this might be. And he was subsequently committed to an asylum where he died after being viciously beaten by the guards.
Oh, no. I can imagine the first part. But the second part you watched in like Stranger Things or something like that.
No, hang on. Why do you say that?
Yeah.
Why do you say that, Ryan?
Yeah, Florence Nightingale was brilliant, I believe.
She used to beat people to death, didn't she?
She was brilliant.
She's well known for beating people to death in the asylum.
No, and bringing in the kind of cleanliness factor, and that was great. The Crimean War, which is busy repeating itself right now. I'll go there. And yeah, Florence Nightingale. So I can imagine how the initial fact is true. Wash your hands during surgery, before surgery. It increases the chance of survival for sure. But the committed to a nut house.
I'm specifically saying the first person who came up with this idea, the medical fraternity basically laughed at him. They called him crazy, told him he was mad. There's no reason why that would be true. And as a result, he was committed to an asylum and where he was beaten to death by the guards.
No, it's a lie.
It's a
Especially
lie.
that second part, yeah.
So, his name was Ignaz Semmelweis. He was a Hungarian.
Yeah?
In the mid-1800s.
Yeah?
And he's now described as being the savior of mothers because he was an obstetrician. Oh. And he noticed that washing his hands stopped mortality, basically like reduced mortality to next to nothing. And he told, he'd wash his hands with chlorinated lime solutions. And he told the medical fraternity that this was the case. And they literally told him that there's no reason why that would be the case because they hadn't discovered bacteria yet. So they said to him, there's no particular reason why this would be the case. And they did. They thought he was a crazy man. They thought he was a lunatic. He had a breakdown. Was committed to an asylum.
No.
Where?
No.
He was beaten by the guards and died 2 weeks later of his illnesses.
Damn it.
Yeah, so it's 100%. It's 100% true. Yeah, it's tragically.
I just hope they washed their hands with chlorinated lime before they murdered him.
If they had, the irony is he died of gangrene in his wounds. So if they had washed their hands with chlorinated lime when they were wailing on him, it might have given him a chance. But yeah, so his technique reduced his mortality rate to less than 1%, which at the time was insane. I mean, it was a thing. So sometimes if you're a genius, shut the fuck up, because the idiots don't like it. They don't like it.
They're going to shove you.
Yeah, they don't like it.
An asylum, and then Barent from Standard Bank, Brackenfell, he's going to come in there.
I can hear Nikola Tesla over my shoulder being like, I've fucking been saying, don't be a genius, Shame. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, so it's 100% the truth, yeah. And now, we consider it normal because the thing was, right, he came up with a solution. He told the medical fraternity, and they said, yeah, but why? And he couldn't say why. He was just like, well, listen, this is a thing I've observed. You wash your hands and fewer people die. And yeah, and I mean that's, maybe that's what scientists must always remember. Sometimes there's stuff happening there that we can't see yet, we haven't discovered yet, that we don't understand yet. So there you are.
No, that's an amazing fact. I love that story. And tonight we were anticipating before the show started that we were on quite different pathways when it came to because genuinely, Dietz gives us the challenge. The challenge is diseases. Go find out, and then it's fun to see where our brains go. And we
it's
thought
never the
we
same
were,
place.
we thought we were quite different, and we kind of are in the diseases we've gone with.
You just want to talk about syphilis again, don't you, Ryan? Is that what's going on? You're just like, can we go back to talking about syphilis again? I swear, if you bring up syphilis one more time.
No, I'm not gonna. Well,
okay, I'm not gonna bring it. Okay, all right. Tell me your syphilis fact.
But a lot of the aspects of the diseases is something we are kind of finding some kind of strange unity on.
Okay.
And I want to talk about scurvy. Yes,
all right.
wonderful.
Well, yeah, why not? Let's see
scurvy. You just lack of vitamin C. It's an easy disease to talk about because it's not enough vitamin C. And then what starts to happen is, I don't know, your gums go fucked. I don't know, that's all.
Bad teeth.
Bad things start happening. That's one of the definite symptoms, but you just start.
Yeah, the irony about that is that you get bad teeth from getting scurvy. And then the one nation who started carrying limes on their ships to stop getting scurvy and who were called limeys.
Shame.
They're the ones with the worst teeth? That's not fair. That doesn't seem fair, does it, Ryan? That doesn't
I wonder
seem
how, because it was, because then, my mom, she's going to make another appearance on the, but
your poor mom.
This might be bad.
We should give her a subtitle. We should give her a producer credit.
This might be bad for my mom, but it's too late now because I've started the sentence. But if when we were small in Vereniging, if there was a British person that irritated my mom, then she'd say, "Man, he's just a limey." So, but okay. So, but
was that British people specifically? Were there a lot of British people, or was it like
no?
English
Vitan had the Vaal Triangle had a lot of British people because of our Escort.
So people from England.
Yeah, because they came with the steel when the Thatcher's steel problems.
No. You were right the first time. They came with the steel. They arrived in South Africa and all they did was steal and steal and steal, and they took it all back to England with them.
People from
Leeds,
they came
from
with
Sheffield. The steel in the early days.
And they came with their football and they started clubs and their soccer was very good. Soccer was very strong in the Vaal. Okay, but we're talking diseases.
Yeah.
So no, but she said. So I mean, would a British person be offended by the term limey? Surely not. It's a good thing.
I mean, you would hope, but it was a derogatory term for a British person. Look, derogatory terms were very gentle in the early days.
Yes,
he's a wasp. He's a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
They're shooting each other from trenches and killing millions over a field, but the insults are very respectable.
They were. It was, even when you think about some of the classics, WAP. For the Spanish, it was kind of west of the Pyrenees is what it stood for. Ooh, zing! What a burn! You'll never recover from that one.
What I like is obviously the English always referred to frog's legs. Your frog's leg, frog, because they ate frog's legs, which is very nice. I've had them Chinese style, they're not French style, but it doesn't matter. But and you know what the French insult for the English was? I got this in the book.
Is it
Papillon? Papillon was, and they made it into a movie twice. But the French insult for the English was "you stupid roast beef." You stupid roast beef. So it's like, if you give a piece of beef to a Frenchman, we can make a nice filet, blah blah blah. But them just stick it in the oven, stupid roast beef, It's just fucking funny. It's like, all the terrible things you could possibly say about his parents or his parents' genitals. You stupid roast beef.
To be fair, we've gotten a lot harsher since then. I mean,
our wars have stopped.
But so maybe that's all it took. Maybe that's all it took. The harsher the insult, the less likely.
Call Oak's mother's special place a nasty thing, or say this whole soccer team has gone there to your mom's special place. We won't shoot each other.
You mean her lounge?
Her roast beef.
Sure, Ryan. Bad man. All right, let's
scurvy.
Scurvy. Right, back to the scurvy.
Oh, so scurvy. It's about the lime thing was when would you say was the lime thing? The British suck on a lime.
1600s.
Wow. Okay, perhaps you're right, because the first documented piece of history that sort of the acknowledgement of certain foods being a preventative measure for scurvy was with Vasco da Gama, 1497, It
You
was
mean the most recent?
the earliest documented.
No, but that's not true.
What? Vasco da Gama.
No,
Scurvy.
the earliest documented examples of scurvy and the cure thereof.
So my fact is
yeah, I mean,
1497. Vasco da Gama on that expedition, one of the writers or one of the doctors wrote stuff, and he said, yes, indeed, citrus fruit is a preventative measure of scurvy. So they knew about this thing called scurvy.
So listen,
they knew about the preventative, and they documented it.
So I'm gonna go out on a real limb here, and Dietz may have to look it up and put it on the screen
busy
there.
with plant of the
Because
month.
I think scurvy was documented and the cure for it was documented by the ancient Egyptians, and I think scurvy is one of those things that we've had happen to us, have found the answer to, and then forgotten at numerous stages through history. And I think Dietz is going to have to double check this for us. But unless this is your fact, unless what I'm doing now is standing on your fact.
Warren, are you saying when it was discovered or when the cure was discovered?
No, so I think the cure has been discovered at various points in history, and it's been forgotten.
Yes. So you need to you first.
I think the
tell me
first
true or
time.
false before.
So no. What I'm saying to you is,
Wikipedia
what I'm saying to you is what I'm saying to you is your fact is false. I'm saying like. So
you mean documented?
I think the first documented example of scurvy was
Documented.
ancient Egypt. The first documented example of scurvy was ancient Egypt, and I think we've got documented examples of the cure from way before Vasco da Gama. But we found it and forgot it, and found it and forgot it, and found it and forgot it. And I think the most recent example is maybe Vasco da Gama, where we kind of started saying, okay, well, if you eat citrus fruits. So that's where I'm going with it. I don't know where you were.
Well, Flip, clever boy, spot on.
Okay.
Very smart, and it's almost like it's sad when history repeats itself, especially when it comes to science and technology. It's like we should have known better had we collaborated. But back then it was empire conquering empire. Then you burn their libraries and stuff, and it's very sad. But the what I have is not so. Yes, indeed, the Western empires and their conquests of discovery. It was Vasco in 1497. There was a chap, but it had been forgotten indeed, and it goes back. I don't have it as the Egyptians. I have it as the Chinese, but 400.
No, so I know the
400 Common Era, so 400 AD.
I'm being
Chinese monk
now.
Faxian. I don't know why his name was Faxian. If he was a what? Come on. Okay, I have it as a Chinese monk. But what's interesting about the Chinese monk in 400 CE, Faxian was his name, is he had ginger. He said Chinese ships have to sail with ginger. Ginger will stop this thing called scurvy, whatever they called it. But it was known that.
Yeah, so Dietz has got up on the screen that ancient Egypt was the symptoms of scurvy were described in ancient Egypt as early as 1,500, but that's not necessarily the first cure.
Yeah.
But so yeah.
No. I think I would go on cure. Thanks for that, Dietz, the ancient Egyptians. I see that. I mean, Dietz has just told us about the first cure. And oranges and lemons, 1747.
This does appear to be another one of those.
You see, it's the British going, we're the first at something.
That's right. It's another one of those cases. And this is the second time in one podcast. I wonder how many other times the British have stolen things. Yes. Oh, wait, look at the British Museum.
One of our previous... isn't that lovely? Oh,
yeah, it's not just physical stuff that they're stealing. It's also... like intellectual property.
Oh, no, there's a previous episode, I think our inventions episode, we had this as well, where it was a patent thing, and someone had come up with the canning. It was the canning in the Netherlands, the first canned food. Yeah. And they were doing it the Dutch were doing it with fish. And the patent was awarded 50 years later in Britain.
So who's the first answer? So it's this
Faxian. Well, it's spelled Faxian. I don't know how you pronounce it. But he said, ginger, man. Sail with ginger and you won't get the shit. 300 CE, which means
Is he right though? Is ginger high in
yes, it
vitamin
is
C?
high. I
Okay.
actually checked that. It is high in vitamin C. So that's 1,100 years before Vasco da Gama.
It's so
It's
interesting.
it's 1,500 years before
James
Lind.
Yeah, the official discoverer of the cure. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that, as you say, we've kind of gone totally different directions, and yet there's some links here on our facts. All right, I've got one more fact before we hit the multiple choice, and it's a very basic one. Measles deaths have dropped by 78% worldwide, or they did drop by 78% worldwide, and 92% in sub-Saharan Africa between 2000 and 2008. Scientists believe that this is a good indicator of the subtle impact of climate change, because they say that the 1 degree Celsius the planet warmed up during that time damaged the measles virus's replication processes, leading to this downturn.
So that whole thing is your fact.
That's my
what
fact.
scientists
That's
say.
my
Whether
fact,
the
yeah.
scientists are right or wrong, that's
Well,
what they
yeah,
say.
this is the general held belief.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that scientists would say that.
Because they don't believe Jesus is controlling the measles.
All the climate.
All the climate.
Where's their faith? They would say that. I would say it's a far reach scientifically and medically. But because of the I'm not saying I'm not a denialist of climate change. I'm just these things can be used to. It's almost committing the same sin as people who are too religious, who are using the God of the gaps thing. It's like, oh, we don't know how it works, so God must have done it. Yeah, that's the God of the gaps fallacy. But blaming everything on climate change is a similar type fallacy. Even maybe they're more researched. So, but they would say something like that, maybe. That's why I would say it's a load of hogwash. But then, they might jump to that conclusion.
I mean, maybe they did show that 1 degree. Look, maybe they showed that 1 degree does make a difference on a measles replication thing. So maybe there is a look.
But it could be a result of other factors. But
maybe
if they're convinced that climate change is happening and they can measure it, and at the same time measles declined, they're like, let's look at what contributes to measles. Maybe a higher humidity, blah blah blah.
Yeah, so as I said, the worldwide measles reduced by 78%, but in sub-Saharan Africa, it reduced by 92% between 2000 and 2008. And obviously, as you know, sub-Saharan Africa is the area of the world that has, increased in temperature the most.
Yeah, and also bit of desertification, bit of more deforestation. So, what am I going to say to this one? This is a tough one.
I mean, you should definitely drag it out over the next 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
You shouldn't leap to any kind of decision.
Well,
this is
I
very
have another
important.
beer.
Yeah.
So
Very important,
I must say, sorry, I didn't even comment on the Woodstock hazelnut brown ale. It is delicious.
It's amazing.
It looks
it's my
stouty,
favorite
but
one.
it
Yeah.
tastes so
It's my
nutty.
favorite one, yeah.
Actually tastes like hazelnut.
Tastes like nut, hazelnut. Very important that you don't say it tastes like nuts.
Tastes nutsy. Ooh, yeah. No. This is the disease. Oh,
All right,
this is
Ryan.
awful.
So where are we standing on the
man,
vaccine?
I'm just gonna say it's true because the buggers would have said it's true. I'm gonna say it's true. Your whole fact is
You're
true.
not
Scientists said that.
You're not very positive about scientists, are you, Ryan? I mean, it's
No,
it's
I've been watching too much Russell Brand, and
yeah.
and I
If
still-
you've watched any Russell Brand,
and
that's
I'm
too
still,
much Russell Brand.
I'm still religious who clings and leans to the literal interpretation. So sometimes the scientists have an agenda, and it's the pharmaceutical companies controlling the world. Sorry, Russell, I don't mean to take over your mission.
Oh, my word.
No,
Yeah.
no.
All right. So you're saying it's not true. Oh, it is true. It is true.
Your fact's true because they would have said that.
No, it's not true. It's due to global vaccination drives, and climate change is going to be nothing but terrible, Ryan. Like it's not going to do any good things for the world. It's just going to be terrible. This was due to the fact that people put so many measles vaccines out into the world that we literally managed between 2000 and 2008 to reduce the worldwide incidences of measles by 78%. So
I
That
am hanging my head in
is
conspiracy
literally
theory shame.
It's literally the exact opposite of what you were saying. It is. Yeah,
Scientific method. Rock on, the
Yeah.
scientific method.
Yeah. And the success of vaccination, which is, I think, my subtle kind of understory here. I've realized because I've got, I was like, oh, the smallpox vaccine and because smallpox
Yeah.
vaccine was very, very effective. It wiped out smallpox. You know?
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
And,
COVID's over.
and now we've
Can
got
you
the measles
bloody
vaccine.
believe it? And I wasn't an anti-vaxxer. But Russell did go on
making
about
an anti-vax review.
not really.
I mean, if I was going to get my scientific information, it certainly wouldn't be from Russell Brand. And now there's people being like, "Oh, why must we believe these comedians over the other comedian?"
No, I mean, what I'm saying is, I don't think Russell was saying be a vaxxer, be an anti-vaxxer. He was just saying, gosh, Pfizer are making a lot of money. That he was going on about that because they're also sponsoring ads
Yes,
throughout
but Russell Brand,
CNN's news.
Russell Brand, do you know how you make a lot of money? Is you create a product that solves a problem. Like that's how you make a lot of money. That's the way that people make a lot of money with everything, Russell. I'm sorry, do you perhaps not understand capitalism? Would you like it explained to you? The way that a person makes a shitload of money is to find a problem and to solve that problem and be the only one who has solved that problem. Russell Brand, you're a fucking moron. Come at me, bro. Anyway, good times.
That was funny, man. Before multiple choice time, I have one more ridiculous fact. Yeah. So you ready?
Yeah.
So this is in our podcast terms, this is what we'd call in musical terms the album filler.
Okay.
The album filler was I've got written a whole bunch of hits. I just need one more song to fill the album.
You know what I do with my album fillers? Sometimes I slot it in a little earlier so that I finish on a big end, you know? It's the stand-up comedy thing. You put your new jokes in somewhere in the middle.
Still multiple choice time.
Okay. Is this
choice
okay,
time.
right? You're confident about your multiple
Oh,
choice?
so confident.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's syphilis, bro. It's going to be rocking.
Is this another syphilis?
No,
Oh, not
multiple choice is syphilis. Okay,
Ryan's obsession with his syphilis is starting to spill out into the podcast. Spill out quite literally.
Oh, shame.
Disgusting. Anyway, right, where are we?
The condom. No. So Lorenzo's Oil
Oh, that was that movie.
movie. I haven't seen it, but I thought about the fact for this Lorenzo's Oil. I've got the name of the. No, I don't have the name of his disease even.
You know what's interesting
Okay, but
about
no.
yeah.
Neuro. Look at Dietz. Fucking Dietz is on it.
You know what the interesting thing about
Lorenzo's
Lorenzo's Oil
Oil.
was, right? So it was. I remember the movie. I did. See the-
Adreno. Thank you, Dietz. You're a rock star. Oh, it's gone now. Adreno.
leukodystrophy.
Yeah. Shame.
Yeah.
It build up of fatty acids. That I did know.
Yeah.
Build up of fatty acids, and they gave him 2 years. And that's based on a true story. So there's a movie called Lorenzo's Oil. It's based on a true story. They diagnosed him with this thing, and gave him 2 years. The dad was an American, and I think he was working the Comores.
Okay.
And when the family, some sort of ambassadorial work, and then when they returned back to the UK, feeling funny, went to the doctor, tests, he's got this thing, and there's no cure, and he got 2 years to live. So the folks, they must have had a lot of money because I haven't seen the movie, but based on the research, they researched it themselves. They paid scientists to do things, and yeah, eventually. The movie's called Lorenzo's Oil. The cure is called Lorenzo's Oil. The kid's name was Lorenzo.
It would have been really weird if his name was Steve.
Steve's
Like,
Oil.
they're just
such a
calling
beautiful
but they're
name.
just calling it
Lorenz.
Lorenzo's Oil.
This
It's
is
much
gonna
more
make a great
marketable.
movie.
But my name is Steve, Dad. Shut up, Stephen. It's Lorenzo's Oil.
And I want to see the movie. It's got a hell of a cast. Nick Nolte, Susan Sarandon, and then the one British scientist who who took on the task of creating the oil. It's played by Peter Ustinov. So
right.
I like him, so I want to see that movie. So the oil is a mixture between...
Is this your fact now? Is what the oil is? Okay.
Yeah, between olive oil...
Yes, it's your laughter. I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait and see what you're gonna say now. You're very amused with whatever you've written there. I'll tell you that.
This is olive oil and palm oil. That's Lorenzo's oil.
Is that what you thought you'd get away with? Listen, everybody's very upset with palm oil, right? Because palm oil is used in a lot of different things. They use it in making biscuits. They use it for a lot of stuff. But
What's
but
the problem?
ultimately, well, I'll tell you what the problem is, Ryan. Parts of Indonesia and the Philippines are being
Deforested.
deforested
Oh, fuck
to
that.
grow palm oil, and it's killing the orangutans, Ryan.
Oh, I hate
It's
that.
my yeah.
I
hate
love
that. I hate that too.
orangutans.
I hate that too.
Julia
So,
Roberts.
If
she
it
loves
turns out that
orangutans.
Lorenzo, and this might be controversial, Ryan, but if it turns out that Lorenzo's oil has palm oil in it, I say fuck those children who've got leukodystrophy. I'd rather have orangutans. Thank you very much.
I love orangutans.
Yeah, I'd rather have orangutans than kids with adrenoleukodystrophy.
Did you see the one orangutan grabbed her? Julia Roberts.
No, Ryan, that's such a weird connection. Anyway, so you're saying
In
it's
the
just palm
documentary.
oil and olive oil, and that's what they what they did was, why didn't you say motor oil? I would have believed it more. It's a lie, Ryan. It's a lie. It's not just a blend of two oils. I swear, if it is, I'm going to punch you. No, I'm going to lean
Wait,
across
are
this
you going
table.
to punch me if it's a blend of two oils?
If it's a blend of those two oils,
those
and I'm
two
wrong,
oils.
yeah, if I'm wrong, I'm going to get so enraged over the future deaths of orangutans for kids who've got adrenoleukodystrophy.
Oh, wow, adrenoleukodystrophy. You'd have been a good doctor because you could say the big words, you know.
Yeah, that's what makes a doctor. I don't know, what did I
Bedside
do?
manner is 98% of it,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, as long as you can tell people, oh, your child has died, and make them smile at the same time, you're a great doctor.
Yeah, in your final year, you
That's
okay,
all
you get sent to a hospital in a rural area, and you go Barra, and you do the trauma training. Your final year, it's just drama school.
No, your
They
final.
teach you to
no,
they teach you to speak well, and
No.
they teach you big words,
final year-
pronounce, articulate.
They put an ice pick here on the inside of your eye, and they knock out your forebrain so that you've got no human empathy whatsoever left in you, and then they let you communicate with humans without any kind of ability to understand them whatsoever.
Oh,
Mm.
they do the same with lawyers. Shame.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
shame. So we're talking facts. So you've said I'm speaking
I'm saying it's
bullshit.
a lie. Yeah, it's not olive oil and palm oil, Ryan. And I'm angry.
Then what
that-
is it?
I'm angry that you brought this lie to our podcast. It's like I've not. I don't get angry with your facts sometimes. I listen to you talk about how Jesus made the world and how scientists are crazy and how you love the Russell Brand podcast. And I don't get angry with you, Ryan. But this shit, I'm pissed off.
Man, I think points-wise, you're doing well tonight.
I would hope so.
I was lying. I don't know how you could tell, but it's actually it is olive oil, so only half a point for
okay.
you.
Ah.
And the thing called rapeseed oil.
Oh, canola oil.
What?
That's canola oil.
Rapeseed.
Yeah. Rapeseed is canola oil.
Why do
yeah.
they call it rapeseed?
So the flowers in Europe are called rape.
Yeah.
Like so that's the thing. Like north of London, fields of rape. But what they mean is this plant. But yeah, so rapeseed oil is canola oil, what we call canola oil in South Africa.
It's olive and canola. You can buy it at the Spar. No, I don't know. No, obviously they do stuff to it. Thank you, Dietz. Lorenzo oil is a combination of 4-to-1 mix of oleic acid.
Oleic acid and uric acid.
You should have been.
Yeah, which are
Your bedside manners.
yeah, which are
fucking boom.
extracted from rapeseed oil and olive oil.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean that's very interesting.
No, sure,
That's
they
very interesting.
fucking-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Lorenzo's. So
And really simple. And explains why people were able to make it in their house. I just wonder what they tested on their kid before that. Oh, fucking put the bleach in with the window cleaner. Gooi it in his lungs. Let's see what happens. He's dying anyway. Oh, that was very bad. That was very bad. Let's try drain cleaner and pepper juice sauce. Oh, he's frothing. Fucking give him something else. Like, how did they arrive at that? It's ridiculous. I don't know. Cold, callous assholes. I'm sure the movie makes them out
That's
to
why
be
they
very...
got Nick Nolte. He's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
he's
The
just a
movie
cold
Susan Sarandon. Yeah, like only Susan Sarandon can make you sympathize with someone who'd inject their kid with a mixture of toothpaste and fucking drain cleaner. You know. Like
After
it's-
that movie, she felt so bad. She drove off the Grand Canyon in a Cadillac.
it was after that movie. Yeah,
No,
holding
I'm
Gina
guessing,
Davis's hands. Yeah.
I'd like to go off the end of the Grand Canyon with Gina Davis.
Right now, after that fact, I'd like you to go off the Grand Canyon. Holding someone's- Anyway, good. We're down to the multiple choice, Ryan. You've got a tiny little bit left to go.
Good,
Tiny little
good.
bit.
Micro bits.
Yeah. So now, mine is a really simple one, really basic kind of concept. It's a multiple choice. So, which of these epidemics did not really exist?
Ooh.
Right? The laughing pandemic, the penis retraction pandemic, the cat and dog nun epidemic, and the ashen dead pandemic.
Yes, what rabbit hole did you go down? Okay, so ashen, cat and dog nun.
So it's
pandemic,
the laughing pandemic, the penis retraction pandemic, the cat and dog nun epidemic, and the ashen dead pandemic. You know the difference between a pandemic and an epidemic? An epidemic is in one kind of group. So that's why you've got to say the cat and dog nun epidemic, because it was only amongst nuns. It was something that only nuns got, is what I'm saying.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
and a pandemic is something that stretches beyond a single group. So there you are. That's the difference. But yeah. So that's
that's
why
excellent.
we say the
Thanks for that.
laughing pandemic, the penis retraction pandemic, the cat and dog nun epidemic, because it's just I'm saying it's just among
thanks for
nuns.
that.
Yeah, I'm saying it's just among nuns, and the ashen dead pandemic, which spread
Shit.
beyond one group. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's flippin'. Okay. Well, I can imagine ashen dead. I imagine it is like the corpse goes an ashy color. I can imagine that's a thing because they had a disease. I can imagine that's a thing. Laughing, I can imagine that, if it was a disease that went to your head and you just went crazy and laughed, I can imagine that was a thing. Nun, cat and dog. And the other one was what?
The penis retraction pandemic. Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Okay, I'm gonna go with. Oh man, it's between the nun and the penis. What I'm gonna do?
It's between a
What
nun
I'm
and a
gonna
penis.
do? Oh,
Every
shucks.
priest ever between a nun and a penis. Jesus
What
is
would
between
you-
a nun and a penis.
What would Jesus do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna retract my penis.
Yeah.
This is hard, and I'm not punning the penis. Right. No, your brain. You're taking a piss with a penis. I think there was a pandemic with a cat and dog nun. And that retracting penis.
There was an epidemic, remember?
No,
It only
epidemic.
occurred amongst nuns.
I know my
yeah.
answer. My final answer. The one that didn't happen was the cat and dog nun epidemic.
All right, let me start at the top.
The penis pandemic happened, laughing pandemic happened, and the what the hell's in this?
Ashen dead.
Ashen dead.
Right, okay, so you're saying those happened. All right, let me start at the top. The laughing pandemic. In Tanganyika, in 1962, 3 schoolgirls were suddenly seized by fits of laughter and weeping. And from there, they started hysterically laughing, and it spread to their class, it spread to the rest of the school, and it spread into the wider community. At one point, affecting over 1,000 different people, apparently, at the same time. So it's a real thing. The school itself was closed, and 2 nearby boys' schools were closed. The community was in a total uproar. Eventually, medical investigators could find no physical reason for the laughter and the hysterics, and determined it was likely a case of mass hysteria in a susceptible population. So it did occur, 1962 in Tanganyika.
So why pandemic, not epidemic?
Because it spread beyond just the school. So the school would have been the closed epidemic, and then it spread beyond them into the wider community.
And they don't know what caused it.
Yeah, they say, yeah. mass hysteria amongst the susceptible populations.
Something
But yeah.
psychosocial.
Yeah, the cat and dog nun epidemic. So the psychologist John Waller, writing for the British Psychological Society, reported that in 1491 there was a problem with various nunneries experiencing nuns who behaved like dogs, birds, or cats, running, jumping, clawing, and biting. The official explanation at the time was demonic
Demons.
possession. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, but he believed that religious repression, strictness, and hysteria were a combination of that. Was it was people just acting out against very, very restrained environment. And yeah, and in fact, the interesting thing about it was that it didn't just occur then. There are reports of it occurring a few times over the last 1,000 years in convents around Europe. So it's like, yeah, so it's a thing that literally happens. The Ashen Dead pandemic. Zombies don't exist, right? And so the Ashen Dead pandemic is in fact the false one. So I left the most interesting one for last, the penis retraction pandemic. It's called Koro, which is specifically a cultural delusion involving the retraction or shrinking of the penis, nipples, or vulva, right? So it's a feeling that your penis is going to shrink into your body and kill you. And it manifests itself in people literally grabbing their private parts or their nipples and pulling them outward to try and stop this from happening. They try and stop it. They kind of clamp their penises to their legs. They do all kinds of things. And in 1967, a national newspaper in Singapore ran rumors that the local pork was carrying a vaccination for swine flu that caused Koro, which is this thing, and that one of the pigs that had been vaccinated had been found dead with a retracted penis, and this caused nationwide mayhem and a pandemic level event in which people thought that their genitals were vanishing up into their bodies and would ultimately kill them. So that's real. The penis retraction, the laughing pandemic, the cat and dog nun were real. The Ashen Dead, the most realistic one, because that's how my brain really works. That was the
guys
one.
going. The next day, the report was, oh, sorry, it was a female pig. It was a vagina. Got you guys.
Yeah.
Retracted penis. Got you.
Look, what's nice about
Remove the duct tape from your inner thighs, everybody.
Everybody very sheepishly. But what's nice about that is that obviously all it takes in 1967 is for a newspaper to run a story that a vaccination is bad for you, and people will abandon the vaccination and stop believing that their penises are disappearing inside their bodies. Nowadays, all it takes is a WhatsApp message, and people will believe a vaccination is bad for you. Anyway, there you go.
That's a great fact, and you nailed me with the one that I thought was just so obvious was just obviously wrong.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, my multiple choice time. Syphilis, yes. Syphilis is back there.
Hooray, I'm glad we're back with the syphilis. It's everybody's favorite virus.
So I went with which of these famous historical people, only one of them was officially diagnosed with syphilis. Syphilis is in hindsight and studying history. He probably had syphilis, yeah. But
he probably had syphilis. It's something we like to say about people, as if you can just say that casually. You can just be like, I can imagine 500 years from now, people are like, oh, Brian, he was a bit crazy. He used to be a stand-up comic. He did some weird things. He used to believe that he used to watch the Russell Brand podcast. He probably had syphilis. That's a rude thing to say about someone if you aren't certain. He probably had
fever.
syphilis.
He suffered from fever, and he started mumbling when he got old. He's mumbled to himself.
Probably syphilis. It's rude. We can't just post-diagnose these people with syphilis. Disgusting. Honestly, I dread to know what people are going to say about me. You're fucking talking all the time. He probably had syphilis. Horrible.
How many times you mentioned you'd jacking off and stuff, and he had, definitely had syphilis.
He used to come on podcasts and say negative things about Jesus. Definitely had syphilis.
Okay, so these 4 names, only one was officially diagnosed by a doctor, and it's documented that it's official and it's known. Here are the 4 names. Oscar Wilde, Idi Amin, Friedrich Nietzsche, and Vladimir Lenin.
Oh, these are marvelous people.
Yeah, I mean, the ones I left off the list, also Henry VIII, shame they've said.
Oh,
maybe
yeah, no,
him.
sure. Yeah,
And they say
Henry-
Shakespeare even. Well, he described it in some of his poems. Well, they think he described it in some of his plays.
Yeah, listen, syphilis was very popular. It was super catchy. It's like the Beatles. Everyone wanted it. But those are 4 people that I wouldn't have traditionally associated with syphilis. You know, Oscar Wilde was gay and got in a lot of trouble for that. But that's... I don't think he was... I don't think he was... he exhibited any of the signs or symptoms of syphilis. Certainly not late stage syphilis, anyway. So I'm gonna exclude him. So it was Lenin, and then was it Nietzsche? Did you say
Nietzsche and Idi Amin?
Idi Amin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Idi Amin, you want to believe was a nutcase, right? Like you wanna believe that he was a bit of a crazy person, and Lenin too, to some degree. Friedrich Nietzsche's the interesting one, because obviously he's renowned for his brain, not his sexual magnetism. I mean,
mind you, that moustache.
when someone's like, "Hey, old Freddie Nietzsche, he's down the club again, fucking all the girls." Like nobody. That's historically not his reputation. It's not like, "Hey, Freddie Nietzsche's house for a gangbang. Everybody throw your car keys in the fishbowl at Freddie's house." I mean, that's Freddie Mercury. So I mean, that's what makes him a very intriguing option for me. Like I'm kind of drawn towards the manic genius who might also have been a secret pervert. And I mean, to be honest, syphilis wasn't a thing perverts got; it was a thing everybody got at some stage. All right, let me go with you've thrown Idi Amin in, I think, as a everybody thinks he might have had syphilis, nobody diagnosed him example. I think Lenin. I'm going to go with Lenin as the real example.
Who was officially diagnosed with syphilis.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, you talked up one in particular so much that I thought you were going to get it.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah,
I hate when I do that.
So all of these oaks, historians and people have said definitely yes, for sure, probably yeah. Oscar Wilde had symptoms, and in hindsight, they think maybe. Idi Amin, I mean, he was protected by the Saudis, I believe. So he fled. He was in, what's that thing when you flee? Everyone's trying to kill you. Yeah,
like a hang glider.
He was in protective custody.
One of those fly telephone.
Yeah.
Okay, right, like
He
witness
was in
protection.
exile.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
the Saudis protected him, and it's never been disclosed, but they were pretty sure. But of course, they'd say that. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, he had it. Idi Amin. Lenin. Apparently, those in Soviet circles knew for sure that he had syphilis, but once again, it's never been disclosed or diagnosed.
Freddie Nietzsche.
It's Nietzsche.
It's Freddie
Shame.
Nietzsche, that pervert.
No, he was found, he had a tragic sort of last 10 years of his life. He was found going a bit nuts and on the streets in possibly Turin. And then he was sent on a train to his family in Switzerland, but essentially sent to an asylum in Germany. And at the asylum, officially diagnosed with syphilis.
I was born 300 years too late, I think, or even 100 years, 150 years too late, because, there was a time.
You would have so gotten syphilis.
There was a time on this planet when the ladies loved a poet and a philosopher, and they didn't care so much for the boys who kicked the football very well. And that was my time for catching syphilis. Now you want to get syphilis, you got to be good at rugby. That's how you get syphilis now. You don't get syphilis from the thinking anymore. You get syphilis from the kicking.
Yeah. And if you struggle to get the ladies, you could always go on to across the pond to London, Whitechapel, 62 brothels.
Right.
Hey,
Hey.
Whitechapel back in
nice,
Jack the
nice
Ripper's
call
day.
Back to our serial
Look at
killer
us.
episode. Good job.
Yeah.
No, that was good, Ryan. I'm glad.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I mean, diseases is one of those things that we could have covered ad nauseum, and we don't know. We're not disclosing why both of us were obsessed with syphilis.
Yeah,
at
I
least
mean,
to
and
some small
initially I
degree.
was like tentative with this topic because I don't want to offend medical people who know more than me. But then I had a couple of beers and
No,
I thought,
all
well,
the-
no, fuck them. They kicked me out of med school. Fuck you. No shame. Don't. We'll cut that part out. I'm sure we will.
No, we won't, Brian. We won't. You know the bit. How is that the bit you want to cut out, rather than the bit where you talk about how Jewish people have got like inbred diseases?
Shame. I
Come
didn't
on.
mean that.
No,
My
you
great
did.
granny
You
was
meant
a
it.
Jew. She was very short and she had a retracted penis. Joking.
She had
Please cut that
Laren
out.
syndrome.
My mom
She's
sees that,
still
I'm sorry.
alive. She's still alive. She had Laren syndrome.
She's
was
an obese, short person. living-
Before you have that third beer and really finish us off, I think it's time to say goodbye.
Hey,
Thank you very
thanks
much.
so much for listening and watching, and both.
Click like, subscribe, share, tell your
Yes.
friends about the podcast.
Yeah.
Because honestly, we know you like to keep it as your dirty secret, but we need love. We are desperately empty inside, and
Be
without
like syphilis. Just
it, spread to everyone. Spread it to everyone.
bye. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.
I like the hazelnuts.